Welcome to the Loveability Podcast. My name is Jennifer Stiers, and I'm here to talk love, relationships, sex, marriage, and everything in between. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Loveability Show. I'm Jennifer Stiers, your host, and I am here today with a guest who has been with us before, Laura. Laura has a podcast also.
I do.
And Laura has a podcast on, well, it's a little bit of everything. What is the name of your podcast again?
It's called Real Life with Laura.
Real Life with Laura. So she's been doing one on narcissism, and she was with us a few weeks ago where we talked about narcissism, which was a great conversation. I want to do a part 2, but today is not part 2. But she has a podcast. And what is the name of the podcast on narcissism? Because there's a lot of people that really need to watch it.
The name of the YouTube channel is Dr. Carter and me.
Les Carter.
Yeah.
Les Carter.
It's called Surviving Narcissism.
Okay.
So it's Laura Charanza and Les Carter. And we have guests occasionally, like you. And then Dr. Sean Lee comes on occasionally. But yeah, it's all about narcissism.
Okay, beautiful. So that's a YouTube. You know what? There's a lot of people that need to be watching that. It seems to be like you have these patterns, this influx of people that come in, and a lot of people have been touched by narcissism, whether it's in relationships or whether it's with family, which is usually a lot of times family origin, but we'll get into that again at a later time. But because there's so much to it. I'm just glad you have a YouTube channel on it. But welcome to today, because today we're going to be talking about situationships, which I think are more common today than they've ever been. I mean, so many undefined relationships, right? So that's what we're going to go into today. I also, before we end today, I want to announce the winners, because last week, not last week because that was jury duty week, but the week before that, I had on Dr. Adine Kingston, and we had given away a bunch of stuff. We'd given away a full face thing. We gave away from Lombardo's. We gave away a shirt, a custom shirt, which we had a winner for that. So I want to announce those at the end as well. First and foremost, let's get into our topic today, and that is situationships. Because I know of a few, we all know of a few common ones, but I think the thing, as I was kind of going into all of this, the common theme with a situationship is confusion.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, if you're confused about a relationship, where you stand, what it is, what the status of it is, you might be in a situationship, right?
I agree, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So if there's a definition for a situationship, it is a relationship that is not defined, right? And not all relationships that aren't defined are situationships. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but I had a young lady in this week, and she's in a relationship. It wasn't defined. They've been dating long distance, and she had it defined. The relationship wasn't defined. But some relationships just need a little bit of time to define, and we have to be really, really careful with defining things and labeling things, as a situationship would be, because sometimes it's just a relationship that needs a little bit of time to evolve, and it's not a situation.
Exactly.
A situation is a relationship or a friendship or a dating situation that is undefined, that is almost undefinable, right?
Right.
I think the biggest one is the one that everybody knows is the whole friends with benefits.
Yep.
I mean, right?
Right.
Who hasn't been in a friends with benefits relationship, right? You're not. You're
have been. Yeah.
She's zipping up over there. Yeah. I mean,
but who hasn't been really?
Yeah. I mean, those are space fillers sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's a situationship because it potentially could keep you out of a long-term relationship because people can get very comfortable in the friends with benefits, especially today. Laura, I am not a young person. These kids in their 20-somethings, early 30-somethings, they don't always like to define relationships, which is a bizarre thing. And so they're perfectly comfortable in these friends with benefits and not defining where it is because they're perfectly comfortable in it. And a lot of times when they do get in a relationship or do head toward a committed relationship or marriage, it's separate bank accounts, it's separate houses, separate everything, separate checks. They're splitting the check. They're splitting anything they invest in together. That to me would be a situationship that I wouldn't be able to define, is if I was dating somebody and they wanted me to split everything with them. They expected me to pay the bill, right?
Yeah, right. I think it's polite for a woman to offer like every third date,
right,
to pay the bill, but I don't know. I can be old school that way. I think the situationship, Jen, let me know what you think, benefits people when they want the gray. And guys, I'm not knocking on you, but it really does help a lot of men to have the situation in gray. I mean,
right.
Think about it, because you can have what you need there, but go out and find what you also kind of want.
Yeah.
Women don't thrive in gray. At least I don't.
I think when busy people can fall into this, women too, when you don't have time to invest in a relationship, and let's be honest, dating somebody new takes a lot of time.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work to get to know somebody and to put the time into getting, and again, what is appropriate, how many dates a week, whatever, that's a huge commitment. I mean, I don't know how y'all do it, to be honest, because how do you do a 3-day a week or a 2-day a week or a whole weekend I personally, I don't have the time for that. I know a lot of people don't, which is why if you don't have time for a relationship, don't get in one, because then it does leave somebody else in a situation if they get attached. But that's, I think, where people, men and women, fall into friends with benefits kind of thing, is because it's convenient. And here is the line in the sand, though, because I think a situationship can also be one of convenience. So we can either choose to be in a convenient relationship or not choose it. If you're in a position where you're getting asked out at the last minute, right? There's no plans being made for the future. You are in a undefined situationship, right?
Yes.
And, let's be honest, I think a lot of guys, a lot of you are really bad about planning and asking a woman out and taking the bull by the horns. You should be managing. If you like a woman, you should be managing your time with her, meaning you should be making future plans. If you're not making future plans with your woman, she is going to feel that she's in an undefined relationship. It's going to cause confusion, and she's probably going to exit. I have to talk women out of it all the time in coaching because something is undefined, and I can see where the guy is making moves and trying, but he's not doing a good job, which happens more times than I'd love to admit, which is why I lecture you guys all the time about this. It's not because I pick on you. It's because somewhere along the way, some of you, not all of you, have gotten lazy and don't remember what it's like to court a woman and to go after her. I can't remember what guest it was. I said, if it was like, Giselle that you were, after, you'd be making sure that if you got her attention that you kept on it. Why aren't you pursuing a woman that you like the same way? Jim says, do you see situationships when people either don't have the courage or know how to have those hard conversations? Absolutely. Absolutely, you do. Well, you can have an undefined relationship because people are afraid to have the conversation on how to define it. And I think having those discussions up front as to what you're looking for, right? And asking the person, what is it that you want ultimately? What is it that you're looking for? And people's timing too, how people move in a relationship is really important because some people move really slow and some people move faster. And for the people that move slow, if you push to define the relationship too early, you're going to lose them. And they'll usually tell you. So if somebody tells you, I'm not ready for a long-term relationship, or, I move slowly and I want to get to know somebody and take the time. You need to hear what they're saying.
Believe them.
And believe them.
Yes.
Right? Yes, because people tell you and I do this for a living, people. I can tell you, people tell you everything you need to know if you would just listen instead of having an agenda, number one. Being wounded and moving forward with your wounds instead of healing and then moving into a relationship. But truly having any kind of agenda will ruin it. Will absolutely ruin it. Just a perfect example, and Laura, I don't mean to monopolize the conversation here, but God, I do this all the time, and I just feel like I'm in this situationship stuff all the time. I had a young lady, and since I'm not saying her name, I know she won't care, but she really likes this guy, and she didn't feel like they had defined like where it was going, and she kept saying, at this point, we've gone out for 3 months. We should be here, and he should be doing this. Ladies or gentlemen, if you ever hear yourself saying that somebody else should be doing something, you have an agenda. You are on the wrong path. You are putting expectations on the relationship that shouldn't be there. And how she hasn't scared this guy away yet, I don't know, which I'm glad. I'm so glad. She's darling, and he sounds like he's really into her, which is probably why. But thank God she came to see me. But, things like that, those kind of expectations will scare somebody away. So listen, because you won't find yourself in a situationship if you listen to what people are saying to you right up front, right? If they tell you they move slowly and they want to take their time, then that means don't push them.
I agree, 100%.
Right? Yeah. So I think that's such an important point in all of this is being available and open and listening. And guys and girls, letting your intentions be known. So if you like somebody, tell them. If you like somebody, show them. If you want to see somebody, again, you don't have to define the relationship. You don't have to be in a committed relationship after the second date. But if you're interested in pursuing someone, you should probably let them know, and you should probably plan ahead. Thoughts, Laura?
Absolutely. You coached me through something as a friend a few weeks ago, as someone that would never plan. And it's frustrating, as like a single mom running this YouTube platform that we have and the rest of our social media and working a corporate gig. It's just too much. I need, if you're important enough for me to schedule you, then schedule me.
Yes.
Yeah. So needless to say, that did not work out. So, and I think there's a difference when you mention expectations. Absolutely, we have to be careful with our expectations because we're setting ourselves up to be disappointed. But you can have standards, if you don't want to be a last minute option, then don't. To me, that's a standard. But you can have that's a standard. Expectations are a different thing. Being at a certain point at a certain time, that's
doing
an
a certain thing.
Doing a certain thing.
Yes.
Meeting the parents at this time.
Right.
Being included, in guys' night out, God forbid.
Let's talk about even from a very daily standpoint, expecting somebody to respond in a manner like you text them and they'll say, well, they didn't text me back for 4 hours. They could have just picked up their phone. If they really liked me, they could have picked up their phone. if you start having those head conversations with yourself, you're the one sabotaging your relationship because you're expecting somebody else to read your mind, respond the way you would respond. Because again, there's another clue that you're ruining things. If you say, well, I would do this if I were them, or I would respond, I would handle it this way. That's you. You're not them. And the sooner you understand that, the better off you'll be in finding a happy, healthy, adult, mature relationship. Because that's the hard part, is you're pulling two adults into a potential life or long-term thing together, and there's two people coming in. So having said that, let's talk about consistency. That is like my favorite. That's going to be my word of the last 2 years. I think that's an area with a situationship, and it doesn't have to be a negative, but somebody that's not consistent with their time, with their energy, with their planning, with their courting, with their responsiveness, with their effort. Somebody that is not consistent, somebody's going to have to make the decision whether to continue that relationship or not. Because for somebody that is a responsible, consistent, mature person, human, they're going to need that as an adult. It's not like we're flying by the seat of our pants in our 20s in college. Maybe at that point it's fine not to be consistent. But if you are a mature adult and you're trying to date a mature adult person like you and I were talking about, you're so busy and you have this, we have these massive, crazy schedules. If you don't plan ahead, if you don't take the time to say, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Or when are you free? Or when do you have some time? If you're not taking the time to do that, you're not providing stability, structure, and consistency for a woman, and she's going to rule you out. So you've got to make plans. And ladies, you've got to be available.
Right.
I mean, you've got to make yourself available. I don't care how busy you are or what you have going on. You've got to respond and you've got to make yourself available, because I do hear this. Like we're talking about it and we understand this, but you'd be amazed at the amount of guys that I hear from that say, well, I don't hear back from women. Women are players or they're doing whatever, are not responding. Guys, if a woman's not responding back to you in a somewhat timely manner, because again, women can be busy too with jobs. If she's a successful, busy woman, she can be busy too. But if she's not making you a priority, then you're not a priority.
Yep, it's as simple as that. And then you've also got to think about men and women. Do we really want someone that waits by the phone that's that needy? I mean, that's up to you, but I don't, Right. I think the busier a person is, the more pressure they can feel from a potential relationship. That's a great point.
Yeah, a relationship's got to fit in your life. It's got to be easy. And again, not to confuse it with a situation, but it does have to fit and it does have to be easy, and there does need to be a level of ease in the communication with your person. And if it's not easy and it's not workable, one of the two is going to get out, right?
I agree.
So, yeah, and consistency is such a big, I have to say, I think along the lines of a situationship where you should start looking, am I in one, and what do I need to do about it, and how do I define and fix it? It would be confusion about what it is. What am I in? Where is this going? Is there a potential future? And the second thing to me would be the C word, would be the consistency word. Where is their consistency? And if there is not consistency and you need consistency, it's probably not something you're going to be able to do long term. And nobody wants to feel uneasy, anxiety, or confusion in regards to a relationship, right?
Right.
And any kind of situation that is not providing those things for you is not going to be something potentially long term that you're going to be comfortable with.
And you can watch the patterns that someone has and just stand back. Time reveals character, and so does crisis. Crisis reveals character.
Right.
And look for the patterns in that person.
Right.
And where their actions, rather.
Right. Absolutely.
Then you know. Then you know.
You know, and you make such a great point. I'm just going to make it again because I said it at the beginning, and then you just said it again. People, quit being so caught up in yourself and what you're doing and critiquing yourself and how you're showing up and trying to impress somebody else, and watch and listen to somebody else, because they will tell you everything you need to know. It's why over the years I have become such a good coach, and it's just taken a higher level of training for me to hear things that aren't being said, to listen at such a point where you can tell if somebody's voice or tone or inflection changes or their energy shifts in a conversation. You can start to tell where there are things that are there. But you don't have to listen that closely, but you do need to listen, because people will tell you absolutely everything. People always go, Jen, how did you know that? Because you told me. You didn't realize you told me, but you told me. And because I was listening, I heard it. And this is where you miss the boat, people, and this is where you find yourself in situations down the road where you don't want to be, because you didn't listen. You didn't pay attention. You didn't listen to your intuition, right? And this is all so important to prevent yourself from getting in these undefinable relationships, because nobody wants to be there. And let's be frank, if you're over the age of 35, nobody wants to waste their time. We're too old to be wasting our time once you're past your 20s of, dating around, figuring out what you want, figuring out who you are. By 30, you should have figured that out. And if you haven't, you need to come see me. Because, and I will say there's a lot of people in their 40s and 50s and 60s that don't even know who they are, because our identities change as we get older and as we get in and out of relationships, especially if they're abusive. You were in a narcissistic relationship. A couple of them.
Yes.
How much time does that take when somebody's unwound your identity and self-confidence? How much time does that take to get your identity back? And
you have to work hard on it. There's no timeline. You just have to keep working, and then you get to a point where you feel peace, but you're never really, it's like alcoholism, right? You're never really well. Yeah. You recover over and over.
It was a couple weeks ago, you and I were just chatting outside of any work situation, and I said something, and you were like, aha. It was this moment of figuring something out about yourself that you hadn't yet. That was a basic, but you said it's always a learning process. It happens all the time, even in my world. Mm-hmm. We always have to be growing. Always have to be growing. You'll never know it all, even if you do my job, and you just never know it all. So you always have to be in a state of growth and learning. And what am I noticing, from patterns and such from all of this?
I coach men and women out of narcissistically abusive relationships, as well as those who are already out. Yeah. And there's still some patterns that emerge. And gosh, I've been with narcissists, raised by one and then married one, for years. And you go, oh, okay.
Yeah. And if you are unhealed, which is just such a great point, if you're not healed, you will find yourself in these type of situations as well, because unhealed people are drawn to unhealed people. People that, if you attract non-committed people, non-committal types, something in you is non-committed. Something in you needs healing or work. So all you people complaining about not finding good people or available people, something in you is not available if you're attracting not available people, I can assure you. So there needs to be more work done, because if you're not healed and whole and healthy, you will attract those type of people and situations as we're talking about. So Jasmine says, yes, standards need to be there. I find guys very last minute and lazy. Yeah, well, that's because they can be, Jasmine. The guys that are players that aren't serious, if you find them last minute and lazy, it's because your last minute priority. So here's that's another thing to look out for with a situationship.
Can't stand it.
Is somebody that doesn't plan, somebody that reaches out to you last minute for something, somebody that doesn't put the work in, somebody that doesn't want to travel to see you, whether that be across town. I mean, I see people here in Dallas that won't cross 635. For those of you that are in Dallas, maybe they live in downtown and they don't want to come out to Plano or Frisco to see somebody. For goodness sakes, if you're that lazy, and I've heard people say this.
Get a cat.
I just want to
get a cat.
Yeah, I just want to be able to meet my person for dinner multiple times a week. So get off your lazy butt and drive. Like, how far? You can't go meet them 30 minutes away for dinner.
Yeah.
So lazy people, if you need somebody that convenient, go fall in love with your next door neighbor, But yeah, if they're lazy, that's not going to work either. That would be a situationship. And Darren says, if you like someone, you take them for tacos.
Torchies.
That's always a good point. Oh my gosh, Torchies, forget it. Do they have those anywhere else besides Texas?
I don't think so.
Because I tried their queso, and I just introduced a friend of mine to that, and they said, you're a crack dealer, because that is addicting. Their queso is unbelievable. Okay, so Colleen says, great teaching today. Thank you, Colleen. You know what? We could go on and on and on about all of this stuff. What was my next point, as a matter of fact? Okay, not talking about the future. So we talked about planning a little bit, but this is a way that you would know that you're in a situationship, is if you don't talk about any future plans together, right? I mean, if somebody's not talking about whether it's the weekend and what you're going to do over the weekend together, if they're not even planning the weekend, they're not thinking about you, they're not ready, right? They're not ready. You're not on their mind. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. But there should be talk about the future also. And I think, Laura, people fall into this in relationships way too much, in that they're afraid sometimes to broach those subjects right up front. On a first date, I would want to know from somebody, like, what is it that you're looking for ultimately? Do you want to get married again? Do you want to be in a committed relationship? How ready are you? What healing have you done? Don't be afraid to ask those questions, people, because if you wait until 6 months in or 3 months in, you could be 100% wasting your time. If you want marriage and you talk to somebody and then you waited 6 months or a year to ask somebody if they wanted to get married and they say, no, I never want to be married again. You just wasted time, and it could have been completely eliminated if you just would have taken 3 seconds to ask one question.
Exactly. Or if you have small kids and you're
Yes.
getting serious with someone, you need to talk to them, or any children. How do you feel about kids?
Or if if you want to have children.
Exactly.
Some of you ladies that want to have kids and you're dating men that already have them, sometimes, number one, they don't want any more. Number two, some of them are fixed. Some of these dudes are fixed already and they can't have children. Ask the question if they want more kids, right?
Right.
So these are all important things. Okay, so future plans. Guys, if you like a girl, you need to be making future plans with her, even if that's the weekend, if that is a month from now, if you're already in a serious or somewhat committed relationship. That would mean a girl is going to want to be taking maybe a vacation together, and you should. I think a weekend together should happen sooner than later, because all you people spending 3 hours, 4 hours, maybe 5 hours together on a weekend, that's not enough time to get to know somebody. Go away with them. See who they are on a weekend together. See if you can travel together, right?
Right. You learn a lot over a weekend with someone.
You certainly can.
A lot.
Yeah. I remember, a guy that I was with for a really long time. It was literally like within the first couple weeks, few weeks of dating, we decided he wanted to take me out to California. I said, no, no. I am not being stuck in California with a guy if I want to get away from him. So I had suggested we go to Austin for the weekend, which I love because of the live music scene, the hills and the trees. It's so beautiful out there. We drove down there too, and had never a dull moment on the drive, never a point where we didn't have conversation, laughter, fun. We both talked about it afterwards, actually on our way home. We knew it was going to be a deal breaker one way or the other. And he felt the same way I did. You're either going to fall into it, it's going to work, or it's not. And you'll know immediately if that is, if that's going to work. Spend some time with each other where you aren't on a schedule or there isn't some production going on. It's not a show or a TV show or a dinner. Spend some time alone with somebody and see if you have any commonalities, right? I know this isn't a situationship, but I'm just, one thing leads to another with me, ADD.
Yes. Oh, I know.
Right.
Same here.
Right. I think I said earlier, we talked about, listen, if somebody says they're not serious, they're not serious. If they say they don't want to be in a relationship or they're not ready for a commitment, they're not ready. You will find yourself in a situationship down the road if you don't listen to what somebody's saying. Women especially, you think you can change a man. That whole, oh, my love, and I'm so special and I'm so great, and, all men want to be in a relationship with me and blah, blah, blah. Quit it. Quit all that talk. That's not, if he says he doesn't want a relationship, he doesn't want a relationship. If he says he's not ready, he's not ready.
And don't try to fix him, right? Don't stop finding these guys that need to be fixed.
Yeah. Your love and greatness isn't going to make them change their mind.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. Sarah says, and so true on the future and weekend planning. Absolutely. And Colleen says, you cannot change a person. Let's just say that one more time.
You cannot change someone.
You can't fix a person,
You
Laura.
can't fix a person. You can't change a person. You can't.
You can't fix somebody, and you can't change them, right?
Right. And you hear that argument,
Yeah.
God can change them. Not unless they open their heart to something like that and they work on it. It still takes work.
Nobody can change unless they want to change, unless the change comes from inside of them, right?
End of story.
Yeah.
Yes. Boom. There it is.
Yeah, you can even look at like when people have like alcoholism and things like intervention. The intervention comes from the outside sometimes, but that alcoholic's not going to stop drinking. They may go into rehab, they may be forced, but they're not going to stop drinking or smoking or doing whatever. Nobody's going to stop doing whatever they're doing if they don't want to stop doing it, right?
Right.
It has to be their own motivation and reasons. Nothing you do from the outside is going to fix somebody, change somebody, or make them be ready for something that they're not ready for.
That's that whole platform of Al-Anon, which can benefit not just people that know alcoholics. It's letting go of things that you can't control. And there's a huge amount of peace in that. Right.
Speaking of, and I know I recommend this book to a lot of people, talking about letting go of things you can't control, codependent no more. You'd be surprised how many of you are how many of you are codependent to a point where it's dysfunctional. So there's probably not many people that shouldn't read the book or shouldn't read parts of it to see where you fall on the spectrum, because everybody kind of falls in the spectrum somewhere. I could almost recommend that book to 90% of my clients.
I agree with that. And if you've been in any kind of abusive relationship, you're codependent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. So not meeting the friends or family, sure sign that somebody's not serious about you.
Especially like 6 months later, if you haven't met mom or dad or sister or brother or even the family dog, got to have a talk.
Or if somebody doesn't want to meet your family.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you offer it up and then somebody doesn't want to meet them, you're probably in a situation. People are telling you what their level of comfortability is as far as moving forward. So,
and yes, that hurts, right? Doesn't it, Jen? That hurts, but it's better to get out now
Right.
If you're looking for more than a situationship.
Right.
I heard a psychologist say the other day on TikTok, Dr. Carter and I got on TikTok, which is hilarious. But she said, if you define it in the beginning, like you're going to sleep with that person, you say, this is going to be friends with benefits. It's defined that way, great. But then she said also, but if one of you wants more, then you need to say that too.
Yeah.
It prevents a lot of pain in the end.
Communication. Yeah. The other part of the friends with benefits that we didn't talk about is the fact that, physiologically there is a connection that happens, whether we want to say it's just sex or not. There is an intimate connection that happens between two people that are intimate together. And you can't, unless you're a cold-hearted nobody, you can't separate the fact that you're going to have feelings over time for your friends with benefits situation. So you have to be really careful in that, because it will prevent you from finding a future relationship if you are emotionally or intimately invested in a relationship that may or may not go anywhere. Because you don't know the reason for the friends with benefits, right? It could be that somebody's completely unavailable, somebody doesn't want to get married. God, there's a million. I hear them every day. I mean, there's just so many.
Sometimes it's people that are
possibilities.
without a job right now and they just want company because they have all these hours to spend.
Right. Incompatible.
Yeah.
You need to be thinking about that stuff. But I think I think any relationship where you find yourself feeling like it's convenient for somebody, they call you when it's convenient for them. They go out with you when it's convenient for them. You're at their mercy. It's never about your schedule. It's always about their schedule. That's a problem. If somebody else is not considering you, you're not in a healthy relationship. It's a situation.
Well, you're not a priority. You're
Yeah.
just not a priority.
Right. And that's really what it comes down to. Yeah. I have lack of date night. If you don't have a date night, if it's just about hooking up, Netflix, sex, and there's not time together, right? You're not nobody's planning for anything, together. They may never plan for anything together.
Yeah,
right?
it's just not progressing.
Right.
Right.
It's a friendship.
Yeah.
You're hanging out with friends, right? And I hear that again from a lot of the younger generation is they do a lot of these friend dates where they have their friends around all the time. If somebody doesn't have time or the inclination to ask you out personally on a date, they're probably not available for that, I know this guy literally always goes on these group dates, always has his friends around with girls that he takes out. It's like he can't sit alone on his own with his, by himself and feel like
Probably
he
a
can hold his own.
self-esteem issue, do you think? Yeah. Yeah.
So anxiety would be a sure sign that something's not right. It may not be a situationship, it could be anything. But any anxiety that you feel in a relationship, it is either a sign that your partner, the partner is an issue or you're the issue. Because the anxiety could be coming from you. Just like I spoke about with one of my clients, she was feeling a massive amount of anxiety because the relationship, in her opinion, wasn't going as it should, and the amount of time that it was, had progressed. But she was the one that was saying, well, we should be here and we should be doing this and he should have, and that's your stuff. It's not his stuff or her stuff. That's your stuff. When you're putting an expectation on the relationship that isn't being met, that is causing you anxiety, that's your thing. It's not their thing, right? So Colleen says, great book. It is a great book. Some women want to change every dude on the planet. Okay. Yeah, they might.
Awesome.
That's not good.
Good luck.
Jeff says there are self-esteem and avoidant attachment styles, and some are not aware of involved in how they relate. Yeah, that book Attached is good. I also recommend that one a lot to people. I'm not into labels, and I don't like diagnosing people with things unless it's necessary. But you do need to know your attachment style, because a lot of people don't realize that they are anxious attached. It's usually the anxious attached, by the way.
Yes,
The
yes.
anxiety people that don't know their attachment style and where attachment causes a problem, right? Because if it's not a problem unless it's causing a problem. And typically it's causing a problem because it's an anxiety issue or avoidant issue. So yeah, and that's just a guideline, by the way, with the avoidant, with the attachment styles. It is just it's just a dabble into psychology a little bit. It's just a piece of the puzzle. It's not the whole thing. So don't make it bigger than it is, right? And Martha says, please explain that style. Martha, I'm going to defer you to the book. Because we've done a whole podcast on attachment, and there's so much to be said, and I don't want to, there's too much to define with avoidant or anxious avoidant, and too many possibilities for different versions of the styles. So I would recommend the book Attached, and I can certainly put a post up with the book after the show, but it's a red and white book. I can tell you that. But it's a really good book, and everybody should really read it. Where are we on time? Okay. So I am going to get into an obvious one. A situation would be if somebody's seeing other people. Because at some point, if somebody you're dating or you're in some type of situationship with is still seeing other people, you are in a very complicated dynamic, because you have one of two choices. If you want to see them exclusively, you've either got to speak up and talk about it, or you've got to get out. But if somebody else wants to see other people after they're already dating you, now granted, I have mixed feelings about this, because I don't think that people should always put all their eggs in one basket at the beginning, and unless it's something where there is some substance. Because sometimes you meet somebody and there is a great connection there, and it doesn't matter whether it was one date or 2 dates. If there is potential and you feel a connection with somebody, you should definitely probably put other people on the back burner and see where this is going to go. Only if you can do that without expectation as to where it's going, right? So that's the important part, is if you're willing to let everything go and put everything else aside and let things evolve in a natural way with this person, because you feel that there's something energetically, chemistry-wise that's there that you haven't felt in a while. That's a good thing, and that's a good reason to stop dating other people, right? Now, if you're just starting to date somebody and you're not sure, you've been on 1 or 2 dates, it's really casual, it's really surface, by all means, you should keep dating other people. Because what women do more often than not, more than men, is they date somebody they like, and then they take themselves off the dating sites, or they stop dating other men and put all this pressure on this guy that they've only been on 1 or 2 or 3 dates with. And the guy's just trying to, let things evolve naturally, and he feels the pressure from her.
They do feel it.
They do.
Guys, I know you feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it is a matter of please make sure that you're putting the energy into the relationship that you expect to get out of it. So if you feel that there's something there, then let everything else go, but don't put too much pressure on what's happening, because things still need to evolve naturally, but you don't need to be distracted with all kinds of other things and people, because that never works. It's never conducive. The strongest is not going to win in the end. No, your indecisiveness and fickleness And inability to commit is going to cause you to lose somebody amazing if you don't put all your energy in. So if you meet somebody amazing, there's a connection there, you work toward that. And ladies, don't put all your eggs in one basket if the guy is wishy-washy or he's inconsistent or he's not available or he's not making future plans. A lot of people get themselves in situations because they're not following their rules, their standards, their gut, and they're not doing what they know they should be doing, Laura.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah. So people, I just want to say in this, I guess in a kind of a wrap up, because there's a million different options. I don't know if I've missed any situations that, people could be in besides the ones I've mentioned. But I think the end of the day is if you feel any apprehension, you feel anxiety, you feel inconsistency, you feel an uncomfortableness in the relationship, you don't know where you stand, you first have to look at yourself and ask yourself if it's something in you, if there's something, unresolved with you, because it could be your expectations or your standards being unrealistic that could be causing that. But you need to pay attention, look, listen, ask questions, and don't be afraid. I mean, if you think it's a situation or you're insecure, feeling yourself insecure or anxious about where your relationship's going, you need to confront it head on. What is this? It's okay. I don't need to be you could say, I'm not looking to have a committed relationship. I'd love to know where I stand. How do you feel? Are you dating other people? I just want to know what the standard is here. It's okay to do that. The best relationships happen when you don't have to do that. When two people know that it's great and two people know that they found something that is special, and you don't have to have those conversations because you trust and kind of know that the other person is the same. They do happen, people. I'm telling you, they happen. But until you're healed, whole, and healthy, you're not going to attract those people or keep those people, because even if you attract them and they see you're wishy-washy, they're out.
Or desperate.
We got
to add that too.
Right.
Desperate, yeah. That clinging, I've got to get him to marry me. I've got to get her to move in, whatever it is. Yeah,
you can't have an agenda, ladies or gentlemen, but especially ladies. And guys, I'll say this from a woman's standpoint, it's great. I mean, we love for you to pursue, but don't pursue too hard either. I mean, that is also something that, can put somebody off, is somebody coming in too strong. Not love bombing, Laura.
I know, I keep having these tie-ins with abuse.
Yeah. I mean, because somebody that does come on too strong with the love bombing, that's often a narcissistic relationship.
And you mentioned the future, and it's come to my mind a few times, so I think I need to say it. Someone needs to hear it. When we're saying that if there's no future talk, well, sometimes there is future talk, but Jen and I were talking about this the other day. It can be future faking. Like maybe you've only been dating a month, and they start picturing your life together, your retirement together, whatever it is. Now, that's a red flag. You've only known each other a few weeks. Narcissists do that often because they want to hook you. It's part of the love bombing, wouldn't you say?
Yes. It's funny, and I was just talking to a client about this yesterday. I've just been dating a guy a couple months. They went on a trip together, but that's what he did. He started talking about her side of the bed and, their bedroom and things like that. And she said, it seems a little soon to be calling it ours and we, and so would you fit that in that category,
I
Laura?
would, absolutely, I would. Yeah, planning for, that's just a little too soon, yeah.
So anyway, so I guess, like I said, in a nutshell, anxiety and not knowing where you stand in a relationship. Don't be afraid to have the conversation. You will find so many things can be eliminated by just asking. And even if it's hard for you in the beginning, because some of you aren't good with the conversation, you've never had them before, you've never done it before, start doing it, because you'll get more and more and more comfortable with it. At least you're in a position where you know where you stand, because the answer to much of your anxiety in relationships is just a question away if you're willing to ask it. You know, could you lose the person because you found out the truth, or they told you, you know, that they don't want something or they're not ready? Correct, but at least you get to make an informed decision.
And if that person is wishy-washy, there's your answer as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Jim says, trust your radar, trust your intuition. Yeah. You know, there is a quote that says you need to know the difference between, you know, your wounds and your intuition guiding you, because both guide you, and you do have to know the difference between what's speaking to you, your fear, your wounds, or your intuition. And that just takes a level of self-awareness that you can only get from healing and educating yourself. Okay, so real quick, I want to go over our winners from last week. I had Dr. Kingston in. She's beautiful. She's my dermatologist. She's many of y'all's dermatologists, actually, as I've learned. She's actually doing sculpture on me today. This afternoon, I'm going over there.
Oh, cool.
That's one of my favorite things. Have you ever done it? It's one of my favorite things to do. I know we had talked about a bunch of stuff last week, and we talked about sculpture last week, but it replaces your collagen in your face naturally. It's awesome. You can find out more. I'm not going to talk about it, but we're actually doing that today, just because looking over full and discuss, you know, these people that, I mean, oh my God,
cheeks.
with their
Yeah.
face is like I know people that are unrecognizable because they've had so much, it's not a facelift. They've had so much filler put in their face that they are unrecognizable, and guys don't like that, ladies. Guys don't like that. They want you to be as natural as possible. They may not want you to have the bags under your eyes like I have, but right now, but that could be handled by some sleep. Anyway, so winners, Jamie Frost. Jamie, you won the custom shirt from Lombardo's last week. So please message me your number so I can put the team over at Lombardo's in touch with you. If you guys head out there, ladies, don't be afraid to go with your guy. I went with mine out there to pick out his stuff. It was such a fun experience to be able to pick patterns and colors and customizations for suits and shirts and all that kind of stuff. And then Cindy Overby, Cindy won, Jamie's like, woohoo! Cindy Overby won the full facial stuff.
Oh, fun.
So it is, oh God, I'm having a brain freeze here. It is Jeuveau. Yeah. I can't spell it. Every time I have to spell it, I have to look it up. But Jeuveau is like the modern day Botox. So she won a full face makeover with Jeuveau, which is awesome.
Oh my goodness.
So have fun with that, Cindy. There's a lot of jealous girls out there, I'm sure, from that. But so she's going to go see Dr. Kingston. So we'll see her before and after on that as well. But I hope you guys had fun. I know that was a girly girl. One of the guys said it's a girly girl thing, but guess what? I had a really good time. I had so much fun because we do love that stuff. And you know what? Thank you guys for joining us again. These podcasts take a lot of work. There are a lot of work on our part. Laura has one, I have one. And there's a lot of work and time that goes into these. And so I appreciate you guys showing up because it does take a lot for us to show up sometimes because we're all really, really busy, and adding something like this into my schedule is super hard sometimes. So I appreciate all of you that are here and listening and participating, because and the people that message me and tell me how much they've learned from this, from the coaching from this, and how it's changing your life, that matters because it keeps me going. It keeps me motivated to keep doing it because it's hard. It's just hard to fit it in my schedule. So, so thank you all for being here and supporting the podcast, and our sponsor, Adine Kingston. She's one of the reasons you guys are able to be here and do this. So, if you need something done, I think we have there's 20% off of, oh my gosh. So photo facials, Fraxel. I want to do that too. Body FX. I had that done. The Body FX on my stomach. I need to go get it done again. And I know somebody else is going to do that too. Laser hair removal.
I had a good friend do that, and she loves it.
What the
laser hair removal?
Oh, really? Yeah. That I'm not a hairy person, but that's awesome. Yeah, it's a fun thing to do. Well, it eliminates shaving.
Either, but she loves it. Yeah.
Right. Anything that takes time for us in the shower, besides all our routines with our hair and our body, anything that would save us time. Okay. Well, thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. Laura, thank you so much.
Welcome. Anytime.
Laura Charanza is her name. And tell people where they can find you.
Surviving Narcissism on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah.
I can't wait to see you on TikTok. I got to see that.
It's great. We have a good time putting those up. But you wouldn't believe, it's just, we've had a couple of videos go viral.
Really? Cool. Awesome. Well, I would imagine with narcissism.
Yep. Covert narcissist. That one went viral, and then one on the sociopath.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Well, I can't wait to see it. So, okay, y'all. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next Friday for the Loveability Show. This is Jennifer. Thanks for listening today, and please subscribe to the podcast. Every single week we'll have new information, and if you'd like to find out more information or if you have any questions, please go to my website at lovejen.com, or you can find me on Facebook at my personal page, Jennifer Stiers.